Earlier this summer, I had an opportunity to shear sheep, and that's something that I have wanted to do for a very, very long time. The whole process is fascinating. The gentleman you see here shearing graciously allowed me to film the process, and also at one point allowed me to try that out. The first thing you need to know about shearing sheep is that it's not optional. Sheep have been bred to grow this thick undercoat, which we call wool. And if they are not sheared, it grows to the point where the weight will kill them, and then the parasites that get in to the thick wool and start rotting it from the inside can kill them. And it generally is extremely bad for their health if the wool is left on. And this is a genetic pre-programmed death switch built into every sheep. If they are not shorn, they will die. So this is something that is for their good, but that doesn't mean that they like it very much. The gentleman shearing the sheep's name is Guy, and Guy told me about the different positions that he holds the sheep in. The thing that this reminded me the most of was actually Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. There are a number of positions that he moves from the initial cuts of wool. He will stand in this position like so, rolling the sheep on its back, and then rolling the sheep on its side, and then he's conscious of where his feet are so that he can apply pressure to the sheep. There is an art to applying enough pressure to the sheep that the sheep does not want to bolt away. Just like in Jiu-Jitsu, which is Japanese for the yielding technique or the yielding way. There is a wrestling that goes on while holding the sheep down. You want to apply just enough pressure that the sheep knows that you're there and can resist their motion if they try to escape. But if you apply too much pressure, then the sheep will panic. If the sheep feels cornered or trapped by putting too much pressure on the sheep, if you really sit down on them, then they'll panic, start flailing about and causing all kinds of trouble. However, if you don't apply enough pressure, the sheep will feel like they can get away with anything, and again, they will try to escape. So there is a delicate balance that reminds me of the Japanese word Jiu-Jitsu. Jiu-Jitsu translates roughly to the yielding technique or the yielding way or the gentle way. And it's all about feeling what the other person is doing so that you can respond appropriately. So Guy here, who is shearing this sheep, is doing something incredibly impressive. He is standing occasionally on one leg, wrestling with a sheep, leaning over in a harness, and very, very carefully trimming the wool off the sheep. And with the wool shearing, there are a couple of considerations. The main one is not to injure the sheep. Sheepskin is actually very much like parchment. In fact, parchment is made from sheepskin that has been processed. Vellum is from cow skin. But it's very, very thin, very, very easy to cut, and frequently wrinkly, which means all those little wrinkles catch in the blades easily if you're not careful. And on top of that, there's a second consideration. Wanting to preserve the hide of the sheep, perhaps you'd want to cut a little bit further away from the skin. But if you do that, then the wool is less quality, and it can potentially damage the health of the sheep to leave wool in place. If you have to cut over the same area twice, there's a term for that, and it's a second cut, and it's not a good thing. Ideally, the wool that you get from a sheep should be long staple wool, which is far better for spinning and makes better quality cloth. When I asked Guy what was to be done with all of this wool, he told me that he was going to throw it in a ditch probably. At first I thought this was a joke, but it turns out that the price of wool is so low that for small operations like this one with only 6 or 7 sheep, it's frequently not worth the trouble to sell the wool for the meager prices of approximately 50 cents per pound that the farmers can get for them. Each fleece is about 7 pounds of wool, but altogether that probably isn't worth the gas money. Graciously, he actually allowed me to bring it home myself, which is something that I can actually make use of because I run a small business where I sell spinning wheels and spinning equipment, and this is actually going to be really helpful for a few prototypes that I have in mind. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe below. We look forward to seeing you next time.